If you're staring at the calendar, feeling panicked because it's already early January and you're still not sure if you should take the LSAT this month or even push it to February, if you're wondering if you're too late for this cycle, this video's for you. I'm here to tell you, you are not too late. In fact, you might be making a smart move by taking a bit more time to polish your LSAT skills and get your scores as high as possible before sending in your application. Today, I'm going to talk about exactly why the January and February LSATs are still a viable option for you if you're applying to law school this cycle. We'll go step by step, covering how these later test dates fit into the rolling admissions cycle, why a higher LSAT score is more valuable than applying early with a lower score, and how to make the most of your limited study time, even if you're just a few weeks away from test day. First, for those who don't know me, my name is Steve Schwartz. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, and I personally increased my own LSAT score from a 152 to a 175. Now let's start by tackling the biggest myth that if you don't apply by December or take the LSAT by November, you're automatically at a huge disadvantage. This belief isn't totally made up out of thin air. It's just rooted in how things used to be, but they're not that way any longer. Years back, law schools did front-load a lot of their admissions decisions, and many seats would be filled by early or midwinter, and a lot of scholarship money would often be allocated before the holidays. But, and this is a major but, the law school admissions landscape has shifted dramatically in the past decade. Today, law schools tend to leave their application windows open much longer than they used to. They make most admissions decisions well into the spring, and they hold on to plenty of scholarship money for competitive applicants who apply in January, February, or even March. In other words, the old, it's too late after December rule is way outdated. Law schools technically claim they operate on a rolling admission system, which means they evaluate applications as they come in and then send out decisions continuously. But one crucial detail people often overlook is that rolling does not mean first come, first served. It's true that applying at the absolute last minute, like April or May, will make things more challenging, but January and February are still right in the middle of most schools' timelines. Now, if you think about it, many law schools do extend their application deadlines into March or even April, and even schools with priority deadlines in January do still continue to review applications and make decisions for weeks or months afterwards. They do this because, one, they want to see as broad a pool of applicants as possible. Two, they're waiting on retake scores from people who might have taken the LSAT in January or February. And three, they know that a competitive LSAT score can come from applicants who took a little more time to prepare for the LSAT. And remember, law schools are not evaluated based on the metric of when their students applied. They don't have any incentive to care about that. But they do have plenty of incentive to care about the LSAT score that you apply with, regardless of when you earned it. And so for this reason, they're saving plenty of scholarship money. They're saving plenty of seats. They haven't given up all the seats or given away all the scholarship money by December. They're reserving plenty of money and plenty of seats for strong applicants who apply in the later waves after the January and February LSATs. And so if you show up in February with a great LSAT score, they're not going to say, too bad, we're broke, we're out of money, or too bad, we're all filled up. Instead, they'll see your numbers and say, great, let's talk scholarship money. And so if there's one thing you take away from this video today, let it be this. Your LSAT score is the single most impactful part of your law school application, regardless of when you applied. Admissions committees, of course, care about your GPA and your application essays, but the LSAT is still the biggest factor in admissions. This is their incentive to care about the LSAT because of the U.S. News Law School rankings. Whether you love them or hate them, they do still carry a lot of weight in how law schools are perceived. One major factor in these rankings is the median LSAT score of a school's incoming class. A higher LSAT median improves the school's ranking, which then attracts better applicants in the future, creating a virtuous cycle. Schools are highly motivated to keep those medians as high as possible. So to get specific here, imagine you took the LSAT in November and you got a 162, but you feel like you could hit a 165, a 167, maybe a 170 if you gave yourself a few more months. Those extra points can be a real game changer if you're willing to allow the additional time. Those extra points can mean the difference between getting into a higher ranked school or getting a bigger scholarship offer, or both, yes, at the same school. Law schools are happy to wait to see if you can help them boost their LSAT medians. And so, if you've been debating about applying earlier with a mediocre score or waiting till January or February to knock it out of the park with a higher score and the quality of your application over the timing of applying earlier, even if you apply a month or two later, your stronger application will stand out more than if you applied early with a subpar LSAT score, in which case they might not even have looked at your application. So if you're watching this in early January, you might be only a couple of weeks away from the January LSAT, or you might be thinking about pushing it to February. Let's walk through how to handle each scenario. Let's say you're taking it in January with only a couple of weeks to go. Your focus should be on reinforcing what you already know rather than trying to learn brand new strategies. You should aim for a mix of full-length timed exams and targeted drilling in your weakest sections, and of course, reviewing in depth. A thorough review using a strategy like the Socratic review method is far more important than racking up a bunch of practice tests. And remember that every mistake is a chance to refine your understanding and learn something new. Also, make sure that you are simulating your test day conditions properly and fully, same starting time, same breaks, which will also help you reduce anxiety on the actual day of the test, in addition to giving you an accurate picture of where you actually stand. Now, if you stick to a structured plan and you practice efficiently, 2 weeks can be enough time to see a tangible improvement in your score. Alternatively, if you're aiming for February, you've got an additional couple of weeks, which gives you plenty of time to shore up your weaknesses and solidify your strengths. And so if you're finding that you're plateauing around a certain score and want to bump it up a few points, you might want to use this time for deeper conceptual understanding. Maybe you want to do some strategic drilling where you identify your question type weaknesses and drill them relentlessly. For example, if necessary assumption questions are destroying you, focus your efforts on that area since that's a major high yield question type, meaning they're a pretty common question type. So if you focus on necessary assumptions, that's going to give you a bigger bang for your buck, a bigger benefit for your time invested, rather than focusing on, say, parallel questions, which even if you hate them, there's only a couple of them per exam. Now, you do want to double check each school's deadlines and maybe even reach out to them to see if they will take results of the February LSAT. Most schools do, but a couple don't. But if they do accept February LSAT results, rest assured you will still be in the running for getting in and getting scholarship money if their applications are still open and they're accepting apps with the February LSAT results. Now let's tackle some common fears head on. The biggest fear is that all the scholarship money will be gone. This is one of the biggest misconceptions students have. Remember that schools do keep scholarship money available for high scoring applicants throughout the cycle. And so if your LSAT score makes you a more attractive candidate, they have every reason to offer you aid, even if you apply in February or March. Now, you might also be afraid that it looks bad to apply late, but the truth is, law schools want the strongest applicants regardless of when they apply. A great score submitted in February will outweigh a weaker score submitted in December. Schools are not penalized for admitting top scoring students later in the cycle. Now, if you're afraid that you don't have time to finalize your application components, remember that you have a couple weeks between taking the LSAT and getting your score back. And so you can buckle down on your essays during that gap while you wait for your score to come in. Then once you receive it on score release day, you can then hit submit. Now, finally, I want to remind you of the big picture perspective here. Law school is a major investment of your time and money, and it sets the stage for your entire legal career. So if taking the January or February LSAT gives you a better shot at a higher score and potentially thousands or tens of thousands of dollars in scholarship money, it's well worth investing a few more weeks of study time than to settle for a less than optimal application. Adcoms care far more about your final numbers than they do about whether you apply in this month or that month on the calendar. And so if you can boost your LSAT score, you increase not only your likelihood of getting in, but also the prestige of the schools that will accept you and the financial aid packages they might offer you. And so if you'd like my help getting the strongest LSAT score, putting together the strongest application, whether you're taking the LSAT in January, February, April, or beyond, my team and I would be glad to help you out. At LSAT Unplugged, we offer live online classes via Zoom, on-demand video courses, small group coaching, and one-on-one coaching. You can check out the links below to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. Now, if you want to make the most of these final weeks before the January test or February test, remember to focus on high-impact study techniques, targeted drilling, and most importantly, thorough review of every single practice test that you take. Also allow plenty of time for self-care to maintain your health and sanity too, whether it's sleep, diet, exercise, or in meditation or relaxation. All of that really will make a difference. Anyway, folks, that's all for now. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.